Each year, there are 6 individuals elected at the National FFA Convention who will serve the National FFA organization. Here at the 87th California State FFA Leadership Conference, we are lucky enough to have 2 visiting national officers, and we will hear from one of them today. She calls Greeley, Colorado home and is currently serving as your Central Region Vice President. Please help me in giving a warm California welcome to Miss Kristen Schmidt.
Hey, California. So checklist item number 1 this morning was not fall up the ramp on my way up here. Done. Checklist item number 2 was take a picture of all your beautiful faces. So let's work on that. Got my handy dandy iPhone. P.S. to my knowledge, this is the only state convention that is set up like this. So y'all are pretty special. Here we go. Get loud, we're actually taking video. Yes! Sweet, we're gonna post it on the Facebook. But I wasn't kidding about the not tripping up the stairs thing. That's real life. And I was ridiculously clumsy as a little kid. Anybody feel me on that? Give me a hoop and a holler. Yeah, it wasn't uncommon for my mom to watch me and I'd be like walking around the house and pretty soon I'd bump into the coffee table or running down the stairs and whoop, there's the wall. That was Kristen's life. My mom looked at me one day and she's like, honey, this is not normal. Let's get this checked out. So she loaded little 3-year-old Kristen up in the car, and we went to the eye doctor's office. Not the most fun thing for a 3-year-old, but we're surviving. Sitting in the van on the way to the eye doctor's office, we get there, and we get out, I'm sitting in the chair, and the eye doctor hands me this little book. Has anybody ever seen this little book before? It's the one that's got like the fly on it. And he's like, all right, Kristen, just pinch the wings. That's all you have to do. Just grab them. I'm like, what wings? Okay. So he like takes the book back, puts it on the table behind him. He's like, let's try something else. All right. You see that chart across the way? Just read whatever line you can. All right. I got this. Standing up all tall and proud. Circle, circle, square, triangle, square. Kristen? Those are letters. Oh. So that day, little Kristen got glasses, lo and behold. And it was so awesome. I remember sitting in the car on my way home, just sitting in the middle seat. You know, for some reason, I don't know why, by the way, car seats are always in the middle. Doesn't make sense to me because then you have to like press your face up against the glass to see what's going on outside. So here's little 3-year-old Kristen, face pressed up against the glass, leaning across the car, and all of a sudden I scream, Mom! The trees, there's leaves on them. For the first time, I saw the leaves on the trees. I could see that each one of them had a different shape. They were all on their own individual branches. When the wind blew through them, they all kind of trembled a little bit. And it was awesome. Sure, I had looked at trees before. You know, they were the brown sticks with the big fluffy green top. But in that moment, I saw them. How many times do we look at the world around us and fail to see its true value? Things like success, things like failure, things like risk are so easy to look at. But sometimes it's more challenging to truly see them. So fast forward a couple of years, 3-year-old Kristen is now 6-year-old Kristen, and she is pretty pumped. You see, this day, 6-year-old Kristen gets to compete in her first rodeo. Any rodeo fans? Me too. I grew up in a rodeo family. I grew up watching my older sister run barrels and poles and tie goats. My dad professional rodeoed for a little while. This was in my blood. And at 6 years old, it was my turn to compete for the very first time. Now, little did I know, while I was excited to compete, my parents were reveling in the glory of embarrassing their youngest daughter. Some folks have their kids play t-ball. We have our kids do this specific event. All right, 6-year-old Kristen lines up, ready to go, ready to compete in her first rodeo. Standing there, and suddenly, all of my confidence is gone. I'm hiding behind my dad, hoping if I just get really, really small, maybe no one will notice me. Pretty soon, Dad coaxes me out from behind him, and he pushes me up to the line. He's like, Kristen, it's time to go. You need to step up. You need to do this. Little 6-year-old Kristen finally musters her courage. And remember, I said this was going to be really embarrassing. Listen to this. So there's a goat tied on a string, and little 6-year-old Kristen is about to chase after it, grab a ribbon, and run back. Yeah, that's called goat-tailed pulling, and it is way more embarrassing than t-ball. That day, I didn't just compete in goat-tail pulling. Little Kristen ran, grabbed, and ran back so quickly that I won. Hello, it was so awesome. So naturally, I have my shiny blue ribbon, hanging onto it all day long. And as we leave the rodeo, the first place we gotta go is to Grandma's house. I hit the door super fast, run to Grandma, sit on her lap, plop down, and my mom says, Kristen, tell your grandma what happened. Grandma, I won! No, Kristen, tell her the whole story. Tell her what happened. Mom, blue ribbon, I won. Kristen, you don't understand. Tell her what happened. You're not seeing it correctly. I was baffled. I had no idea what my mom was talking about. In that moment, I was looking at my win. I was looking at that victory as black and white, and my mom was truly seeing it. You see, my mom had saw her shy little daughter crouching behind her dad, not wanting to step up to that line. My mom saw terror in the eyes of a 6-year-old. And then she saw courage. She saw me step up to that line and do something that I had never done before, step out of my comfort zone. My mom saw a champion. And when I looked at that, I just saw a blue ribbon. How many times do we look at success and truly fail to see it? How many times do we look at the plaque on the wall and say, I'm a winner, but fail to look at the attributes in our heart that say, I am a champion? I'll flip that coin. I went to Greeley West High School, which none of you will know, but that's okay. We had about 200 students in our FFA chapter and one ag teacher. My ag teacher worked tirelessly to ensure that all students felt included and involved. There was one girl that I remember specifically was in my pre-vet class my junior year of high school. I remember sitting in the back of the classroom with her, and this young lady's name was Sam. She wore black skinny jeans and big clunky boots. She didn't say much. She would sit in the chair farthest away from the whiteboard and just try and not be noticed. But when the bell rang and Parley Pro practice came around, Sam was in the front of the room. Who's a Parley Pro fan? Sam was too, and it was so fun to watch her get excited about parliamentary procedure. As soon as that practice started, Sam was at the podium. She was no longer the girl sitting in the back of the room. She was running the demonstration. She was excited, and she motivated her teammates to practice hours before our district contest. When districts rolled around, it was time for Sam and her team to compete, and they were so excited. I couldn't help but be excited with them. I watched their demonstration. They did really well. And when it came time for awards, I sat next to Sam in those bleachers. They called the Advanced Parliamentary Procedure Awards that day, and Greeley West High School got dead last. Now, Sam and I were sitting right next to each other, but our perspectives could not have been more different. I looked at Sam's situation and saw failure. All of her hard work down the drain, the hours that she had put in, the excitement that she had, all for nothing. But Sam saw that experience, and the first question she asked our ag teacher when we got on the bus was, "Where's my scorecard? What's next? How can we improve?" Sam didn't let that failure be her finish line. She saw it for what it truly was. She took a hold of that opportunity, and instead of looking at failure, she saw it. Now, success and failure, these are things that we experience all the time. Whether it's with our sports teams, our families, our FFA chapters, it's all around us. But the true test comes when we don't look at that plaque on the wall, but see the value of those successes and failures within us. Who's ever visited Colorado? Anybody ever been to Colorado? Couple folks, that's pretty impressive. So I'm guessing that you all probably visited like the beautiful, picturesque mountain scenes of Colorado Springs and Breckenridge and the ski resorts. I'm not from there. No, my home is flat, so flat you can stand on a tuna can and see for 10 miles. There's maybe 5 or 6 trees to a square mile. Yeah, it's pretty flat. So I remember when I was little, we used to load up in the pickup every spring when it was time to go fix fence. And in order to make my sister and I work harder, my dad would kind of bargain with us. He'd be like, "All right, girls, today's the day, time to work. If you get all of this done by 3 o'clock, here's your reward." Now, sometimes these rewards were getting a Slurpee from 7-Eleven on the way home, but not today. Today, this reward was huge. Our dad had bargained with our mom, and he had got her to allow one of those things on Mama Schmidt's list of things her daughters will never do. Yeah, that was our reward, and we were so excited. The unthinkable was going to happen today. We were going to get to do something that our mom thought was far too risky for her daughters to be doing, and we were pumped. We checked fence that day faster than we ever had before. 4 miles in no time. And as the pickup crested the hill back towards the shed and the water tank, my sister and I started pestering our dad. Like, "Dad, what is it? What is it? What's our reward? We worked so hard, now what is it?" He's like, "Well, girls, talk to your mom. And that windmill, go ahead, climb it. You've been asking all spring. Whatever y'all want to do, play, just be ready to go in a couple of hours." As soon as he said the word windmill, my sister and I were off the pickup. We were not paying attention anymore. Jumped off the flatbed, running across the pasture, get to the water tank and the windmill. Now, my sister's 5 years older than me, so naturally I let her go first. And she climbs to the top of this 30-foot structure. And she's telling me about it. She's telling me how beautiful it is. She's looking at it around and seeing our entire pasture. And she comes back down. I'm like, this thing's been here for 60 years. It's going to make it another 60. Maybe I'll just wait. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. This is not a good day for me to climb this windmill. I'll pass. My sister's like, "Kristen, What is wrong with you? We waited all day for this. Yeah, but it looks a lot bigger right here than it did in the pickup. My sister looked me straight in the face and said, "Get over it." Thanks. Okay, appreciate that. So little Kristen snuggles up next to this windmill. I'm standing at the bottom. My heart is racing. My knees are shaking. My palms are ridiculously sweaty. And I'm terrified. I'm finally mustered the courage to put my right foot on that first rung. Then my left hand, my right hand, my left foot, left hand, right foot, left foot. Pretty soon, I'm at the top of this windmill. My heart isn't racing anymore. My knees aren't shaking. My palms are still a little sweaty. But I can see everything. I looked around and saw the cattle in the draw. I saw the 3 trees on the entire pasture. I could see the ducks on the pond. I could see everything. Standing at the base of that windmill, I looked at it and was terrified. The risk was far too great. But when I got to the top and could see God's beautiful creation stretched out before me, it was so worth it. We think about risk, and oftentimes it's this big, lofty thing, too big for us to get our arms around. Things like skydiving and base jumping. Yeah, that's risky. But risk is extremely ordinary. Things like reaching your hand out at state conference and introducing yourself to someone from another chapter. Sticking your hand up in class and answering a question when your teacher can't get an answer out of anybody else. Maybe it's volunteering to help your mom with something that you've never done before, trying something new. Risk doesn't have to be huge. It can be extremely ordinary. And when we grab a hold of that risk, when we truly see it for the value that it brings, instead of looking at it and being terrified, then we get to realize all of those benefits. Going back to little Kristen, 3-year-old Kristen sitting in the middle seat of that minivan. That day was not about my vision. It wasn't about trees. It wasn't even about my own personal experience of seeing for the first time. It was about recognizing the difference between looking at the world around me and truly seeing it for all of its value. In a few days, folks, we're going to leave state conference. We'll go back to our homes, our FFA chapters, our sports teams, and that's when reality sets in. We kind of live in this FFA paradise for the few days a year that we get to be here with people that are passionate and talented and excited about the same things that we are. But where the real work starts is when we leave this place, when we're no longer surrounded by that, when it's not easy anymore. That's when it matters. Reality check, that is when it matters. When we look at the world around us, we miss the point. We have to truly reach out in order to see that value, to see success, to see failure, to see risk. And when we grab a hold of those ideas, it is life-changing. California FFA, as we head home, as we head back into the real world, don't just look at the world around you, truly see it. Thank you.
Kristen Schmidt, on behalf of the California FFA, Thank you for spending some time with us here at convention and for reaching out to us with your message about truly being able to see the world. We're glad to have you here, and we hope that the rest of your National Officer year is filled with safe travel and happiness. Please accept this as a token of our appreciation.
Thank you so much.
California FFA, your Central Region National Vice President, Ms. Kristen Schmidt.